There's a very tiny little subtitle on the box for Jikai Shounen Meッ. It reads, Dog Kara Kimi e no Chousenjō, or A Challenge from Dog to You. Considering how shoddy most of Dog's output has been, that comes across more as a threat. But the background here is a little bit more complicated than a lot of these games. Dog, as you might recall, stood for Disk Original Group, and while Square was the official publisher, it was really a consortium of smaller computer game companies who pooled their resources for publishing on the Famicom Disk System. And of those small computer game companies, maybe the most significant of them was Thinking Rabbit. Thinking Rabbit made a big splash with their game Sokoban, the definitive block-pushing game. We've actually already seen a port of Sokoban on the Disk System, but that wasn't made by Thinking Rabbit themselves. Jikai Shounen Meッfeels like it's a creation of a company that would make Sokoban. It's a big puzzle game with 100 stages, and the guiding principle here is magnetics. On every stage you have to collect all the orbs, and that will open up the exit, and then make your way to that exit. Collecting a red or blue orb will change you to that magnetic polarity, while the yellow orb will flip your polarity. You'll see red and blue arrow boxes on the ground, and these are spots of magnetic force. If you pass close to one of them and you're the same color, then you're repelled, and if you're a different color, then you're attracted. Having the arrows doubled up will dramatically increase the force, so if you have an opposite color and you're on one arrow, you can still do a tiny hop, which you perform with either the A or B buttons, and if you're on a double arrow with the different colored outfit, you can't even jump at all. One quirk of this game is that you can change the title of the game and how it's played from the title screen. By default, the game is Jikai Shounen Meッ, but if you hit select, it becomes Jikai Shoujo Meッ. Meッis the boy, and he starts every stage with the blue polarity. Meッis the girl, and she starts every stage with the red polarity. She also has a different graphics set that's used while playing, but it functions exactly the same. Since one of the big challenges in this game is figuring a route to collect everything and not get stuck, which polarity you start a stage with can have a pretty dramatic effect. You can switch between them, they share save files, but to do so you first have to lose a life, then choose to end the game, which will save your progress, and then you can start it again in the other mode and reload to the level you left off at. One thing to be cautious about here is if you run out of lives and get a game over, you don't get a chance to save. So saving your progress through the 100 stages is not as straightforward as it could be. You have a score on every stage that's constantly ticking down. You also lose score when you collide with an enemy, but it's not a huge amount. You can ride on most enemies' heads, though there are a few that will hurt you if you try this. Plenty of the stages have puzzles that require figuring out how to use the enemies effectively. Another stage feature to watch out for are the colored bricks that will sit around. These bricks will move according to your magnetic polarity. So if you're matching them, you'll push the brick away when you approach, and if you're the other polarity, well then 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. There are a few items you can collect on the stages. Wrenches and pencils are just worth a few points at the end of the stage. Toolboxes and cups are worth points immediately, and the health kits and Famicom controllers are extra lives. You also get an extra life when you end a stage if your score is above 0, which means collecting a wrench will always guarantee you 1 extra life if you can clear the stage. The big threat for you here is that you're very likely to get stuck. You might fall down into a pit with a magnet that's attracting you, or need to use a repel boost to get up to the exit, but you have the wrong polarity. In those events, press select and down at the same time, and that will kill you. So it's really just jumping immediately back to the start screen. Something that you're going to notice in Jikai Shounen Meッis that most of the puzzle stages require very precise jumping. You'll often have to go to the very edge of a platform, moving most of the way off it before you jump. And using magnetic repulsion to boost your jumps can be a bit finicky, particularly with the double magnets, since if you go over those you'll hover in the air, and while hovering you can't jump. Instead, what you have to do with those is start your jump just barely off of the platform, and if you time it precisely right, the magnetic field will catch you as you move up, giving you that big boost. Moving the blocks around is also fairly finicky, but at least you can't get crushed by moving platforms. In fact, trapping moving platforms to manipulate timing is vital to some puzzles. After 5 stages, there's a bonus stage, and here your goal is to collect all of the diamonds before time runs out. There's an enemy kicking the block across the bottom of the screen that's going to cover up the exit when it hits 0. This is mainly just another opportunity for an extra life. From what I've been able to find, Jikai Shounen Mettmag is effectively unknown in Japan. I've gotten used to coming across obscure games where the online commentary in Japan about them is so small that I can't draw any conclusion at all, but this is an instance where it's 0 comments everywhere. This game has been completely memory holed. And it's honestly kind of a shame. I'm not going to say that this is a brilliant puzzler. It's a little bit too finicky, and it's a little bit too reliant on perfect jumping, but as an early physics puzzler, it's an interesting game. I don't think I'd have the patience to play 100 levels of it, but it's not something that I think is worth completely abandoning. It's definitely worth a look.